I give the call to the member for Forest.
Deputy Speaker, and I want to talk about the Busselton-Geographe Bay Rotary Club and the building of the Busselton Men's Shed, and how the promise of a $50,000 donation from the Rotary Club was the spark that resulted in a $1 million men's shed. In 2012, Trevor Fisher was a member of the board of BESS, the Busselton Elderly Support Service, now known as Community Health Home Care. He was also a member of the Busselton-Geographe Bay Rotary Club, which had begun the Sail into Life experience for people with disabilities, seniors, and people who'd never previously enjoyed the thrill of sailing. He mentioned to Leanne Miller, the CEO of BEST, that the Rotary Club would need a shed for its Sail into Life boats and equipment. Well, Leanne and Trevor then mentioned the idea to David Johns, a registered builder and a member of the Rotary Club. They agreed, well, let's build a shed. On behalf of the Rotary Club, Rotarian Don Harrington applied to the City of Busselton for some land on Road Terrace on the edge of the Busselton light industrial area. Sadly, Don was diagnosed with cancer and died several months later. His widow Rose approached Trevor and David and gave them the papers she found in Don's files. So David and Trevor then approached the city's Mayor Ian Stubbs and CEO Mike Archer, requesting the grant of 4,000 square metres of land to the Rotary Club to build the men's shed and Rotary shed. So David drew up plans for the proposed building, but tragedy struck again, and David Johns was diagnosed with mesothelioma and died a few months later. In his place, Trevor Fisher and Alex Mears approached the city, who approved David's plans and agreed to clear the site and remove the vegetation and topsoil. The city's planning engineer, Paul Finnecane, accepted a proposal to amalgamate the two existing vacant blocks and arranged for planning approval to be waived. The project was now up and running, with Trevor and Alex as the project managers, responsible for organising the bulk of the work needed to get the project completed. It was delayed as the main funding source, Rotary West, wanted reasonable proof that a men's shed would be a viable activity in the Busselton area. A small shed was built on Bustle Highway near the CBD, leased and made into a men's shed, attracting over 100 members with just a few weeks of opening the doors. So after 12 months of successful operations in this shed, Rotary West were actually convinced that a full-scale men's shed would be viable, so they agreed to provide the funding of $386,000 to add to the Rotary Club's promised $50,000. So Julianne Howes and Emily Brown from BESS agreed to be the financial managers, making payment for material and services provided to the construction project as they were completed. The Rotary shed was first built, and then the men's shed on Bustle Highway was able to move into half of the Rotary shed for 18 months as their new and much larger shed was being built. Well, thanks to Trevor asking contractors if they could undertake work on a cost-plus basis, the Busselton community then proceeded to donate materials and services either free or at cost. APH contractors donated and delivered 542 limestone blocks that formed the wall, within which clean sand was laid as the foundation. Matt Treasure laid the blocks without charge for his time. After 18 months of work, the shed was completed and ready to be used. Well, the final cost had been budgeted to be $472,660, but a total of over $301,000 was donated. The City of Busselton provided a cash donation of $50,000, the Bendigo Community Bank $1,000, and the Rotary Club over $40,000. So including the land, the total value of today's men's shed is close to $1 million. What a great result for the Rotary Club's initial offer of $50,000, and a fantastic effort by all of those men involved in the men's shed that were part of this project from day one. And Deputy Speaker, we have a lot of men's sheds in my part of the world, and I know that a lot of other members do as well. And there's a lot of great work they do, both in the community as well as in their own work. Today, the men's shed in Busselton turns over between $65,000 and $75,000 in paid-for work for the local community, although the actual value is at least double that amount thanks to donations of materials and services by men's shed members. And the hourly cost of work is $80, but for groups like the Busselton Hospice, not-for-profit groups, people on low incomes, and City of Busselton projects such as slabs and benches in the Japanese garden, they're provided free of charge. And the current membership is 108, and their work entails administration, woodwork, metalwork, as well as reupholstering of items such as pool tables. So all that investment, all that work has produced a fantastic result. And I want to also touch on a second project of the Rotary Club of Busselton-Geographe Bay, when they took on a really ambitious project to provide lightweight swags called shelter bags for local homeless people. The club imported shelter bags from South Africa, where they were made by people with disabilities. Rotary Australia World Community Service partner with the ARC City of Refuge, who provide training, accommodation and support for homeless people in South Africa. ARC have trained seamstresses to make the bags, which are affordable, lightweight and suited to the climate of Busselton and Dunsborough, waterproof for some warmth, shelter and dignity for those sleeping rough. The cost of importing a container of 750 shelter bags is estimated to be nearly $70,000, including the shelter bags and the shipping. The Rotary Club of Busselton-Geographe Bay was prepared to donate up to $10,000 to kick-start the project, the rest to be sought from donors. But in the end, the community response, like in Busselton, as we've seen on a regular basis, was actually overwhelming, and the club only needed to contribute just under $7,000. The community contributions towards the project included a $20,000 grant from the City of Busselton, $10,000 from the Dunsborough Lions Club, contributions from Rotary Clubs of Kenwick and Wild Catcham, and $5,000 from Shelter Brewery and Rio Tinto. Other contributors included St Mary's Anglican Church, the Margaret River Busselton Tourism Association, the Geographe Bay Yacht Club, and private donations from Rose Harrington, Kevin Dodson, Nolene Hartley, Peter Saunders, amongst many others. And I was at a meeting where the Rotary Club was talking about the bags that they'd already distributed. And they expected a particular demographic of people to seek these bags, but they were incredibly surprised at those who actually needed them, who came forward to receive them. So this is a fantastic project. And in finishing, Deputy Speaker, I want to briefly touch on the fabulous Busselton Health Study, started in 1966. One of the longest research facilities anywhere in the world, a global collaboration, and it's cross-sectional, and it is focused on a range of conditions and diseases and illnesses from sleep, respiratory, cardiovascular, diabetes and genetic issues. They have an extraordinary and valuable database. You know, from 1966 with this same group of people in Busselton. It is a fabulous longitudinal study. They have research facilities in both Busselton and Perth, and they collaborate both around Australia and globally with medical researchers. So this is just an extraordinary resource, not only for Busselton and the broader region, but there's, as I said, the amount of material that they actually have in this database. It is just, you know, that bio base for medical research is just extraordinary. And so the wealth of information that sits there possibly could be used for so many other purposes in the illnesses and conditions we are seeing today, but also those ahead. And so every organisation that I come across in this field, I encourage them to get in touch with those at the Busselton Health Study to draw on that wonderful wealth of information that they've gathered. But in closing, Deputy Speaker, I just wanted to thank the people of Busselton who've been part of this since 1966, with regular health checks and going in and making sure that their information is recorded for health purposes and for others to use. What an extraordinary effort and contribution, not only for those who run Busselton Health Study, but for the people who have made sure that the continuity has been there and that they've fronted up over and over to have their checks and make sure that this data is recorded. And I've supported them where I can, Deputy Speaker, and I'll keep doing so, because I think this is both a global and national resource that is yet to be tapped into, and I'd like to see our health department tap into that here in Canberra as well.